lost a loved one. In Jewish tradition, we tear our clothing, but instead of tearing our clothing, we have a ribbon that we tear instead. And what it does is it signifies that the fabric of our lives is torn. And so we recite a blessing and we tear the ribbon together. And the reason that it's on the left side for Neal and Randi is because it says that our parents are as close to us as our beating heart. So it's about their nature, a special relationship. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech Dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, wise one, our God, sovereign of all worlds, source of truth and finitude. Adonai natan, Adonai lakach, Hishem Adonai mevorach. Eternal is good, and eternal is good. Traditionally, we mourn for 7 days, but we make lots of adaptations, lots of ways of doing this. However, we'd like to wear it.
Thank you guys so much. I would just ask if you wouldn't mind either like turning off your cell phone or silencing it, that'd be greatly appreciated. And you're more than welcome.
We gather together today as family, as friends, and as community to honor and remember Jay Goldblatt. And it is so good that all of you are here. I know that he has many friends and associates and colleagues and family members here to honor him and remember him today. And we join together also so that we're not alone in our mourning. We, family, relatives, friends, and community begin to plant the seeds of memory as we acknowledge our sense of loss. For Jay's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship along life's path, which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. May the words of the psalmist give us solace at this time of mourning, acknowledging the comforting presence of God who is always with us. And feel free to join me in reciting the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is said that to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to dance and a time to mourn, a time to speak and a time to refrain from speaking. And now is the time that we speak about Jay, the love that we shared, and the memories that remain with us. Jay Goldblatt was born on August 14th, 1941, and he passed away on January 11th, 2022. He was a beloved and devoted husband to Hilary. And Hilary, you and Jay shared over 50 years of marriage and companionship together. He was a beloved father to Randi and father-in-law to Greg, a beloved father to Neal and to Neal's fiancée and partner Trish, and a proud and loving grandfather to Samantha and Lucas, Gabby, Gavin, Brady, and Ella. And Jay is also survived by his dear cousin Janet. Today we remember Jay's loves, his prides, his joys in life, and we will remember his special character. We will remember him as a man of generosity, good humor, great accomplishment, both academically and athletically. Whatever he touched became successful, as you mentioned, Hilary. And he was a man whose highest value was his devotion to his family. Jay was born and raised in New York and blessed with a close and supportive extended family. He attended Horace Mann Preparatory Academy in New York, which nurtured his intellectual interests and his academic and athletic talents. And Jay loved all sports, but he had a special talent for baseball. Jay played varsity baseball in school during the 4 years in undergrad and went on to play professionally in the mid-1960s with the New York Mets. And Jay was academically talented as well. He was awarded membership into Mensa, a roundtable society for individuals who score within an upper 2% of the general population on approved intelligence tests. And so it's no surprise that Jay was called by the New York Times and asked to be part of a national crossword puzzle contest. And he participated and came in third. And I bet he was Jeopardy smart too. Jay attended the University of Vermont and graduated with a master's degree in economics. And he had a special quality that was really unique. Not only was he bright and talented and accomplished in different areas of life, but one of the things that you noted, Hilary, was that everyone liked him, as we can see here today. He was personable and he enjoyed conversation. And as you said, Hilary, he was the kind of person people gravitated toward. He enjoyed conversation, and as we say in Yiddish, there's a word that called to kibitz, which means to have a kind of conversation where more important than the topic of the conversation is the people just having the conversation. And that's what he liked. He was a mensch, and I noted in those who left remembrances of Jay that friends of his were talking and laughing in the pool at Ponte Vedra Valley Club, and just the sitting around the pool, talking and laughing, is all that was needed to make a great day. Jay was a successful businessman, especially in the field of manufacturing, whether it was the acquisition of a business, executive management, or selling businesses, the selling of several businesses. His work enabled him to travel extensively, and Hilary, you and Jay enjoyed many good trips together. And the two of you also enjoyed a real estate business together, collaborating together on that. Seeing the world contributed to many life experiences for him and engagement with different people and cultures, and that contributed to a well-rounded and sophisticated demeanor that he had. Jay was a gentleman and mild-mannered. And that sophistication held over to being a dapper dresser. He was the consummate dresser because his motto was, everything to the dry cleaner. And I imagine on the golf course, that on the golf course, one score that exceeded being an on-par golfer was his impeccable dress, no doubt a hole-in-one. Jay loved other sports too. He enjoyed tennis and golf. He enjoyed watching football and basketball and the other spectator sport, the stock channel. Jay was conservative in his views of business and politics, and Jay's Jewish heritage was important to him. He took pride in Jewish celebrations and milestones being passed down to the next generations. Jay made the most of everything, as you mentioned, Hilary, and he lived well. But what was also important was to ensure that his family could make the most of everything and live well too. And Hilary, you and Jay were true partners in that regard. He met any obstacles he encountered with a combination of both tenacity and determination, but also had a laid-back quality built on trust and confidence. And Hilary, you were integral to that. You enabled him, too, to not let obstacles deter him or let anything get in his way. You added a measure, and he could add a measure, of needed reassurance at times and forbearance when trying and stressful life difficulties presented themselves. Jay loved his children. He was happy to branch out and to ensure that his family had things that were nice, things they would enjoy. He took a genuine interest in you, Randi, and Neal. When you were kids growing up, when you played soccer, Jay was all in. He wanted to make sure that you enjoyed it. He wanted to foster your interests, enrolling you in sports camps, and he made sure that what you needed to grow and to succeed and thrive was provided. And he was a very proud grandfather as well. Each of you grandchildren have special interests and accomplishments, important events or milestones you are working toward. And he really wanted to be part of your activities, to cheer you on and to encourage you. And he could give some sage advice, some good advice, and that's part of being a grandfather as well. With recent health changes and challenges, he really wanted to be part of your lives, your interests, and he was sad not being able to do that. But even with all of that, he maintained a positive attitude. He wanted to live life the best he could, and connection was important to him. Hilary, your love and devoted marriage was a true blessing. And as you have said, you learned how to make it work. I'm reminded of a quote that I think really speaks to what you shared together. And the quote is this: "If you see a married couple still in love through the years, you may think how lucky they are. But in marital relationships, it's really not about luck so much. They make many compromises. They overlook each other's faults. They forgive many mistakes and endure difficulties together. They spend years learning to understand one another. More than a matter of luck, love is mutual giving, compromise, shared dreams, care, respect, mercy, and patience." This is what came to mind as you shared about Jay, Hilary. And perhaps this is why you could say he was your rock and you his. I also recall you saying, "Jay just wanted to be well enough to take rides with you, Hilary, in the car." Sometimes the simple things mean the most. The simple pleasure of taking a ride just to enjoy the moment with our loved one. In the end, that connection with you was what was very important. You spent a lifetime learning and growing together. Whatever Jay touched became successful. He touched many lives, and he touched our hearts. Family was really important to him. And he made a point of saying that he wanted everyone to stay close. In other words, you already have that blessing. This is a testament to his success and legacy. Jay not only gave us gifts, but he truly was a gift to us. And we are enriched because of Jay's life, his unique spirit, the memories that remain, and what he means to us. Randi, come on up.
Well, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So bear with me. I didn't think I could actually do it, but as I was thinking about what to say, I was strengthened by my dad's advice. He always had great advice to give. Just one phone call away, and I can get my dose of wisdom. It'd always be brief. He didn't need many words to get his point across. Brevity is the soul of wit, reminds me of him. So sometimes he would say, "It is what it is." And I hated that. And I told him that because his advice usually was great. What does that mean? Doesn't help me. He never really, I don't think he really explained it to me, but if you knew him, you also knew that sometimes you had to figure things out on your own. For some reason, this kept coming back to me, this phrase that I hated. And I did some thinking about that phrase that I thought was so basic. I thought it meant that you had to resign to the fact that you couldn't change things. Resignation, I didn't like that. But what I realized is that he didn't mean it that way. He meant that some things in life should just be accepted. And acceptance is very different than resignation. You accept it, you stay strong, you move on. That's what he would say. This really helped me in the last few days. Unfortunately, we all need to accept this terrible loss. This great man. We need to stay strong together, keep his memory alive, and in time, move on. If I know anything, I know that he would want us to live like he did, making the most of every day, loving those close to you, and making sure they really feel that, having no regrets, and I know that my life will never be the same without him in it, but it was such a gift to have spent 48 years as his baby girl. I may have lost my #1 fan, but I have so many happy memories and milestones to cherish. I'll be strong, just like he told me to be. JJ, your love, your understanding, your support, your wisdom, and your amazing sense of humor will live on inside of us forever. You have given us gifts that are more precious than anything in this world. I love you.
I started with a tie earlier today, and we all started talking, and all I could think about is how Jay would make fun of me for dressing up. He'd say, it's no big deal. And he'd take a shot at me, and I've been thinking now, it's always a big deal with Jay. He was one of the biggest deals. And the fact is, he's still in my head, making me laugh, making me think. You know, when you meet your father-in-law, you never know what you're going to expect. And you have some stories leading up to it. There was a reference to the crosswords. I'm talking to Randi. Oh, you like to do crosswords, Greg? So does my father. Great. He does about 3 a day. Oh, by the way, he also writes crossword puzzles for people. So, you know, you get the stereotype. Maybe he's this like nerdy, really smart guy. And then you hear the second story. Oh yeah, he played professional baseball. And you get your other stereotypes. And I'm walking up the path to Thurston, and I get to meet Jay for the first time. And what I've learned pretty quickly is I won the lottery on fathers-in-law. He's not a stereotype. He actually is the stereotype. He's the one who sets the bar. You can't meet somebody so cool and so sweet at the exact same time. We talked about he cared about everybody, and Randi mentioned his way of ending a discussion, and Neal and I even mentioned this the other day. Never had an argument with him. He didn't argue. He'd have discussions. And then when it was time, he'd either end the discussion by letting you have the last word, or he'd say something which basically said, it's over. This is my opinion. I'm not changing it. Still love you, but that's it. More importantly, I got to become close with Jay. He was always there for me, supportive. It's really a neat thing when not only you love somebody like a father-in-law, but you really like them and you like being around them. And I had time, when they were in South Florida especially, to enjoy those times with him. And I know that he affected a lot of people, and a lot of my friends and members of the South Florida community, they just reached out to me. And these are, you know, people 30 years younger than Jay. And some of the statements. I wanted to be his best friend. I remember when I met him at your wedding. He was such a cool guy. Another friend of mine met him once, remembering the wedding. All around great guy, and even my father is like a brother. I got to spend some time with him towards the end, and I really had a chance when all of us were in the hospital, and we're all talking and laughing, and I had a chance to tell Jay my true sentiments and thoughts about him. And I said, Jay, everything in this room, the children, the grandchildren, it's all because of him. This is your legacy. Told him, you're not just a father-in-law to me, you are a father, and I love you, and thank you. And true like Jay, he just looked at me and said, you just keep on doing what you're doing.
Got to hold it together, because my dad would say, "Hold it together, Neal." He wasn't a very emotional guy. Never really shed a tear. I never saw one. A trait that I did inherit. I cry at the end of every Bachelor episode. But he wasn't an "I love you" guy. But me and Randi and Mom, when he looked at us, those certain times, we knew he was proud. We talked about I can't remember him missing one of our soccer games or one of my baseball games. I don't think he missed it with work. I mean, he was always there. You always saw him in the stands with a cigar in his mouth, and a gray beard. He always knew my dad was there, and he was always cheering us on. Just go over some of his traits that have already been mentioned. Like I said, I didn't pick up the emotional trait. He was intelligent, very, very intelligent, as you guys can tell. Didn't pick up that trait either. I didn't even know. I read the obituary, and I didn't even know he was part of Mensa. And I told Tish that last night, and she goes, "What do you mean? Your mom told me 50 times." And I didn't know it. But it is amazing. I mean, we talk about the crosswords. I mean, he'd get them done in 15, 20 minutes in the Times Union. He'd go through it, get them done like that. It was amazing. Jeopardy? You can't watch the show with the guy. He knows every answer. I'm telling you, he would give Ken Jennings a fight. He would. I mean, he was unbelievable when you watched Jeopardy. He knew every answer. It was incredible. Incredibly athletic. I knew I'd never get to see him play baseball, obviously, but he played a lot of softball on Sundays, and I'm telling you, he was a vacuum cleaner at third base. Never missed a ground ball. When he threw people out, he had a rifle. I mean, first baseman's never had to move. It was unbelievable. He was just so fluid and such a good athlete in tennis and at golf as well. Greg mentioned it. I never saw him get mad. I never saw him argue. He just had no temper. Another trait I didn't inherit. But it's unbelievable. It's just unreal. So I could tell you just a few little golf stories. Remember the first time he took me out to play. It's a 9-hole course in Massapequa, at Peninsula. It's called Peninsula Golf Club. He played there all the time. He took me out. He wanted me to play. And obviously, your first time, you're not that good. But he counted every single one of my shots, made me finish every hole. And it was starting to rain a little bit on 8 and 9, so it was like, can we get out of here? But he made me finish every hole. We went to Nautilus Diner afterwards. I remember this, I was like 10 years old, our favorite diner. And he went to the payphone in the restaurant and called 3 of his buddies and told everybody that I played golf with him and shot 81. I said, "Dad, did you have to tell him my score?" I mean, it was an 81. But that's the kind of guy he was. He was just proud. He was a proud man. He was proud of me. He was proud of Randi. He was proud of my mom. He's proud of all the beautiful grandchildren. Proud of my beautiful fiance. He's just a really good person. One more golf story. One of the last times I played with him, it's a first hole on the Hague course at PGA National is a dog leg. It's a par 4 crazy dog leg left. And, my dad, as he got older, lost some distance, obviously. And he would play this old 5-wood persimmon. And it's like 2013. I'm like, what are you doing? There's more technology. But he loved that club. And he would hit this thing, and he would hit it like this, and that thing would slice it, and there was water all on the left, and when you got to the hole, there was water there. He'd take this crazy slice and it would go like this, about 150 yards. Next shot, he did the same thing. He took it over the water and hit it 150. Get to his ball, and he's got the same club in his hand. I'm like, what's going on here? He's like, I'm going to feather this one right next to the hole. It's like 80 yards out, with the same 5-wood. He hits this shot. He feathers it right next to the hole, about 3 feet. The two other guys we're playing with are like, chipping for 9. The other guy's chipping for 8. He's walking up to the hole with his club. I'm like, are you going to putt with this thing? It turns out the guys gave him the putt. Okay, so we're walking off the green. So he made a 4 with three slices and a feather shot. He called it feather shot. Walking back the hole, I said, Dad, you can use other clubs. He looks at me, he kisses the club face and goes, not today, baby. That's what I remember. That's what I remember. That's what I remember. One more story that I thought was funny. I told Kathy this yesterday. When he was in the hospital and things were taking a downturn. He had to get, I forgot if it was an ultrasound, but we're at Baptist downtown. It's a beautiful hospital, right on the water. Heart Hospital is gorgeous. It's just an awesome place. But he's getting a TEE or he's getting a cath. I forgot if it was an ultrasound, but they had to take him down to like the basement of the hospital. And it's like when you get down there, it's like we have all the equipment. Mike, you might have seen it. You guys might have seen it. It's just dingy down there. It looks like things are falling apart and all this stuff. So I didn't really know that, but he comes back up after his anesthesia, wears off and stuff. And he was very with it through all this process, as you guys know. He's still with it. Still very witty, sarcastic. But in front of him, he's like, how you doing? He's like, I'm fine. He goes, but I figured it out. I'm just like this hospital. I'm pretty on the outside, but shitty on the inside. It was so funny. But that's how he was. He was just he still had it. He still had it. But just finally, my dad used to do the jumble too. The jumble in newspaper where you have the 4 words and they're scrambled up. And he would tear off in the mornings, every morning. When I got to the hospital, he would put a little tear off and he would do the words and then fold it back so we couldn't see the words so we can do the jumble. That's the kind of guy he was, just caring, So me and Mom would try to figure it out. But they never wanted to do the last one where you put circle those letters and then you got to figure out the 1-word phrase, the 2-word phrase, the 3-word phrase. So they would never do it. They say, that's stupid. It's a dumb riddle. Whatever. That's what they would say. So I would try to figure it. I figured it out. And it's incredibly ironic. But when I figured out the last one we did together, the jumble at the end was world class. And that depicts my dad. He was a world-class husband, a world-class father, a world-class grandfather, and I'll leave it at that. Love you, Dad.
Thank you. You all spoke beautifully. The writer and poet Hannah Senish wrote, "There are stars whose light reaches the earth after they themselves are no more. And there are people whose memory and spirit lights the world after they have passed from it. These lights shine in the darkest night and illumine for us a path. Jay's memory and legacy will continue to illumine a path for so many whose lives he touched. And we will remember him as world-class and for his love that has lifted our spirits and our hearts. And may his special light help us find a divine light, a light that offers us hope, a light that will guide us day by day step by step, as we continue to live fully and wholly. And may this light also remind us of the sources of comfort, encouragement, and support that surround us and enable us to find healing and strength. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Jay who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Will you join me? Everyone has a reading. Yeah. Let's read together, We Remember them. And today, instead of saying we remember them, we'll say we remember him. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember him. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember him. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. As long as we live, Jay too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember him. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember him. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember him. And when we have achievements that are based on his, we remember him. For as long as we live, Jay too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. Will the family please rise as we recite Mourner's Kaddish? And if you're not familiar with the prayer, it's a bit of a tongue twister, so it's okay if you just read along. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam olalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar v'alei Tzion, may you be comforted among the other mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. May God grant comfort to all who mourn and consolation to all who are bereaved. And as we close this morning, as you go on your way, may God go with you. May God go before you to show you the way. May God go behind you to encourage you, beside you to befriend you, above you to watch over, and within you to give you peace. Amen.
This does conclude the service here today. On behalf of the family, I'd like to thank you all for coming and showing your love and support. And I ask that you join them for a reception and some fellowship just right across the hall here.